Hey guys, YouTuber 100 here. Alright, and in this video, I'm going to be giving my thoughts on the new Pinocchio movie. The movie was just released onto Disney Plus just this past Thursday, yeah, and I did give it a watch, so I'm just going to be talking about the film, giving my thoughts about it, and what I really did think of it, yeah. So yeah, so if you've seen my past videos about the Disney live action remakes, you know that I really just hate this. I really hate that Disney is just really just remaking literally all of their live action. I mean, all of their animated movies in live action. I mean, they've been doing it for the last several years. I mean, they've of course they've done like Cinderella, The Jungle Book, Beauty and the Beast, Aladdin, The Lion King. They did Dumbo, they did Mulan, and they've got some others coming as well. Yeah, and like I said, I really just I just hate that Disney's doing this. And seriously, they do not need to be remaking literally all of their animated films in live action. Seriously, it really just is becoming too much. Like I've said before, how just I was okay with them remaking Cinderella and the Jungle Book. Like those ones were it was just fine, but yeah, when they got to remaking Beauty and the Beast, that's when really I felt that it really did start to really just get a little out of hand with the route they were taking. And now with all these other ones, at this point, it's just pissing me off. I'm just so sick of Disney remaking literally all of their animated films in live action. Yeah, yeah, and of course, I did like some of them. I did like the Jungle Book. Like if you did see the review I did for the live action Jungle Book remake from you from 2016, like yeah, I did say that I really did like that one. That was really a great film. I did place it in the top 10 live action Disney films. So yeah, so that was a great one. And yeah, and Beauty and the Beast, while I did feel that that was really when it was getting out of hand, I still did watch that one, and that was still good. Yeah, but ever since then, with pretty much the following ones, I have not seen any of them. I haven't seen the new Dumbo, I haven't seen the new Aladdin, I haven't seen the new Lion King. The Lion King one in particular is the one that really pisses me off that they remade in live action, because it's absolutely pointless to remake that in live action. There's no human characters in the Lion King, so yeah. So why did they actually remake that into live action? That's really just absolutely stupid. Yeah, and the other ones that have followed, like Mulan, and whichever other ones have come out, I haven't uh, watched them. Yeah, so I really just haven't even been seeing any of the live action Disney remakes that have come out since Beauty and the Beast. Yeah, but yeah, but when I did see the trailer for this one, when I did see it, I when I first heard about it, of course, I wasn't happy. But as I watched the trailer for it, I was thinking, yeah, this does look kind of interesting. And plus, as I was just finding out more about it, that Robert Zemeckis was directing and Tom Hanks as Geppetto, and it's just some other stuff that I found out about the film. Yeah, and as I was watching the trailer for it, I was thinking, well, this does actually look kind of interesting. And when I heard that this really was just going to be put onto Disney Plus, it wasn't actually going into the theaters, I figured, okay, maybe I can check this out. Yeah, and I did decide that when this film did come out, I would give it a watch. And so yeah, so I did give this film a watch. And how did I feel about it? Well, of course, as a lot of people say, there really wasn't really any reason to remake Pinocchio, especially with just how much of a classic the original really is. The original Pinocchio is of course a classic. It really still is considered to this day among the best Disney films of all time. And I even did place it as number two when I did the countdown of the top 10 hinge on anime Disney films. I really did say this was one of the most perfect Disney anime Disney films of all time. So yeah, so of course I really do love the original. Yeah. So yeah, so there of course I really wasn't a demand for this, and there probably really wasn't any reason to remake it. But since they did, how did it turn out? Well, to be quite honest, I honestly did think that this was an okay film. I mean, yeah, people really are not really giving this film much love. Like on Rotten Tomatoes, the film only has a 30% on the tomato meter, and as of right now, it has a 37% audience score. So yeah, so people really aren't thinking like that fondly of the film. And the critic consensus of the film is that visually dazzling but soulless, the largely inner Pinocchio reaffirms that you should always let your conscience be your guide away from unnecessary remakes. Yeah. So yeah, so there really are, like, so yeah, the film really isn't really like getting like a whole lot of love. Yeah, and I do understand like why people really wouldn't like this film, but like yeah, it really doesn't have really the same charm that the animated film did. Yeah, and yeah, and plus yeah, there's like a lot of like changes to this version from the original one. And I really do feel that like it's really the changes that a lot of people do have problems with because yeah, there's like a whole bunch of changes to this version from the original one. And yeah, and I guess like the changes like they're just going to be something that people either love or hate. Like the way I personally feel about it, I feel that like some changes do work and others don't. So yeah, so the changes really are just like a kind of like a mixed bag in the film. Yeah. So yeah. So in this video, I'm not really going to be like talking about the premise of the film because I really did already like go over the premise in my review for the original film. So yeah. So I'm not really going to be like focusing on the premise of the film. I'm really just really going to talk more about like what this film really like the changes that this film really did have and what I liked about it and what I didn't like about it. All right. So yeah. So yeah. So like I said, pretty much like this still really does follow like the same Pinocchio story that the original does. Like it is, of course, about like a Geppetto making a wooden puppet that he names Pinocchio. Then he wishes for him to be a real boy. Blue Fairy comes, brings him to life, but tells Pinocchio that he really does have to prove himself brave, strong, and unselfish to actually become a real boy. And yeah, and she appoints Jiminy Cricket his conscience. And yeah, and then Geppetto then discovers Pinocchio's alive, and then yeah, then Pinocchio goes off on a whole bunch of adventures, gets into trouble, eventually reunites with Geppetto. Then, after the encounter with Monstro, then Pinocchio then proves himself to be worthy of becoming a real boy, and he does. Yeah, so it really does still follow the same story that the original film does. Yeah, so yeah, so as far as like the stuff that I did like about it, I guess I'll start with off with like I'll say mention the most obvious thing first. I was happy that Disney did reuse it was Pinocchio's original design. Yeah, I am glad that Disney did at least get the memo for this film that if it's not broken, don't fix it. Yeah. So yeah, so I was glad that Disney did just reuse Pinocchio's original design from the animated film. So yeah, I was glad about that because yeah, there have been like other like versions of Pinocchio where like just he really just does look kind of creepy or he really just doesn't look right. Yeah, it just really is kind of weird. Like I remember there was like that Adventures of Pinocchio movie with Jonathan Taylor Thomas and yeah, Pinocchio's design in that film was just like honestly kind of creepy. Yeah. Yeah, and there have been like some other designs of Pinocchio that really just really don't look right. Yeah, but yeah, I am glad that Disney at least did at least get the memo for this film, and they just kept Pinocchio's original design. So I was happy about that. Yeah. As far as Tom Hanks as Geppetto goes, uh, I guess he overall does do a good job as a Geppetto. Yeah. Yeah, I will admittedly say that I really did think that Tom Hanks was like kind of an unorthodox choice for Geppetto. Just yeah, when I do like think of actors who play Geppetto, like Tom Hanks really isn't one that really does come to my mind, but he does admittedly do a pretty solid job as a Geppetto in the film, and they really did do good of actually still making him actually like still have give him like the old man appearance like Geppetto does have. Like I remember like there was like when Disney did like the TV Pinocchio movie for the Wonderful World of Disney, Geppetto. They had Drew Carey play Geppetto, and yeah, Drew Carey just they really didn't actually make him look older. He really did just look like he was in his 30s. So Geppetto really shouldn't look that young. Geppetto should actually look old, and yeah, and they did at least like still have Geppetto be an old man in this film. Yeah, and Tom Hanks overall did do a pretty nice job as Geppetto, though admittedly his accent really wasn't that good. Like, yeah, that's just something with Tom Hanks in particular. Like when he plays like a character with an accent, Tom Hanks really doesn't do a very good job with accents. Like, remember like in The Terminal, just how he had like the European accent. It really just sounded like really didn't sound very good. Yeah, and he's done other movies where he's had accents as well, and they just really aren't very good. So yeah, so accents really are not Tom Hanks' thing, but yeah, as far as like his performance as Geppetto goes, I think that he actually does pretty well. So so Tom Hanks really does prove a lot of people wrong. I remember like a lot of people were really kind of skeptical when he played Walt Disney in Saving Mr. Banks, but yeah, he actually did deliver a really great performance. Yeah, and here he still does do a pretty good job as Geppetto as well. Yeah, yeah. And what I did like really like find like something I actually did like about the film is that they do like say more about like what well, they at least like mentioned that in this version, like uh Pinocchio is actually based on Geppetto's deceased son. So yeah, so I do kind of like that it really kind of does give like Geppetto more motivation for why he did actually make Pinocchio, because he really just did really did just make him after his deceased son. So yeah, so that's something I actually do like. Like I don't know like if any other versions of Pinocchio actually do this. I know that it wasn't in the animated film. Yeah, in this one they actually mentioned that like Geppetto really is based on Pinocchio is based on Geppetto's son. So I actually did like that. Yeah, and in this film also do have Joseph Gordon-Levitt as the voice for Jiminy Cricket, and he does pretty good in the movie. Yeah, something I did like is that, of course, like the Disney logo does have like the "When You Wish Upon a Star" music playing, and towards like the end of when the logo is shown in the opening of the film, you actually do have Jiminy Cricket singing it. Yeah, so that was actually kind of like a nice touch. Yeah. Yeah. And something else I did think that was kind of like a neat addition was that throughout the film, like when Jiminy Cricket would be like jumping around, like you did actually hear cricket chirps. So yeah, so I did think that that was kind of like an interesting addition to really like make it clear that Jiminy Cricket is a cricket, because in the original film, like there's nothing that really does actually like establish that he really is a cricket. So in this version, they did at least establish that he really is a cricket, but having those cricket chirps. So yeah, so so that was a nice little touch. Yeah, yeah. So moving on to like some like changes that this film does have. Like this film kind of like does have like a different selection of songs. Like this film did remove like a couple of songs that were in the original. Like the Little Wooden Head song is not in this version, and also there's also the Give a Little Whistle song. That's not in this version either. The the songs that they do reuse in this movie from the original, they used, of course, "When You Wish Upon a Star." They also did reuse the "High Diddle Dee Dee" song and "I've Got No Strings." Yeah, and they do also like feature like some new songs in this movie as well. There were songs like "When He Was Here with Me," "Pinocchio, Pinocchio," "I Will Always Dance," and "The Coachman to Pleasure Island." So yeah, there are some new songs in the movie, but be quite honest, like the new songs that they have in the movie really are not memorable. Like yeah, the new songs in the movie really are just pretty forgettable. So yeah, so the highlights for the songs really are just like the reused songs from the original. Yeah, but even then, like as I'm talking about the songs, I've got to say that like the cast in this movie really are not very good singers. Like, for example, there's a scene when the blue fairy does bring Pinocchio to life, and as she's leaving, she does sing "When You Wish Upon a Star." But yeah, the actress that plays the blue fairy really is not a very good singer. Yeah, and I'm gonna come back to the blue fairy in just a second, and yeah, but yeah, before I do, yeah, and as well as like the song when Pinocchio is performing for Stromboli, when he does sing the "I've Got No Strings" song. Yeah, the kid that voices Pinocchio really is not a very good singer either. Like like as I'm listening to it, like I'm just like was thinking seriously, like stop singing. Seriously, yeah, he's just not a very good singer. Like Pinocchio sang much better in the original than he did here. So yeah. So the cast in this movie really are not very good singers. So yeah, so I guess that is like one of the negatives about the film. Yeah. And speaking of which, speaking about negatives, now let me talk about the Blue Fairy. Yeah. In this film, there's really not much of the Blue Fairy. Like, the only time that the Blue Fairy actually does appear in the film is when she does bring Pinocchio to life. Yeah. Then after that scene, she's just gone. Like, she doesn't reappear in the movie anymore. She doesn't like come back like she does in the original. She doesn't appear in the scene when Pinocchio tells lies and his nose grows longer, and yeah, and we don't even actually hear her voice, such as like in the ending of the movie. Though the ending is like different, so I guess it doesn't make sense. But still, we just really don't see much of the Blue Fairy at all. She's only in one scene. Yeah, yeah, so I really do think that that is a problem. Like the Blue Fairy is like one of the most important characters in Pinocchio, and yet she's only in like one scene in the movie. So that's just something you can't do. Yeah, yeah, and it's okay. And as far as like some other changes that were made in this movie, like the scene when a Pinocchio does go to school, uh, it does show like of course how he is persuaded by Honest John on and Gideon to just like forget about school and become famous. And yeah, but in this version, Jiminy Cricket actually does actually get through to Pinocchio to have him like go to school. So yeah, so Pinocchio does actually go to school and he makes it to school, but he winds up getting like just thrown out of the school because he's not real. So yeah, so they do add that into this version. So I really don't know really what to feel about that. I mean, I guess it does give Pinocchio like a reason why he just does decide to become famous and take Honest John and Gideon up on their offer because he's not really just like ditching school. Well, not going. He actually can't go to school. Well, so yeah, so I guess that does give Pinocchio more of a reason to, but at the same time, I mean, Pinocchio just like not going to school, it was done in the original. It really does show like the mistakes that Pinocchio does make, and it kind of really does develop his character more to as he's really facing problems and he does make wrong choices. So yeah, so I guess that for most people, they're probably really going to prefer like him just not going to school rather than not being able to because he got thrown out. Yeah, yeah. And in this version, they gave Stromboli like a what I think is a very over the top appearance. Like they make him like really big and fat, and yeah, and just like the his hair and mustache, it really is just like a very over the top as well. Yeah, so I'm not sure if that was actually intentional or not. I mean, I guess it was intentional because I mean, I because Stromboli really is kind of like looked at as an over the top villain. So yeah, so I am guessing that it probably was intentional for them to make him look so over the top. Yeah, Yeah, and also like in this version, like when Stromboli does lock Pinocchio up, like it shows that like there's this other girl that is kind of like working for Stromboli, but yeah, she also does have a puppet, and the puppet, like her puppet, actually does talk to Pinocchio, and it seems that like Pinocchio does like the puppet a bit, yeah. So yeah, so I'm really not sure really what to think of that. I mean, I guess like it was like a kind of like a nice touch, but was it really necessary for Pinocchio to kind of like have like another puppet to talk to? Yeah, yeah. Also, they kind of like did like give like a different twist for like Pinocchio's long nose. Like this movie does like show once again that when Pinocchio does tell a lie, his nose grows longer. Yeah, yeah, but yeah, it also kind of like gave like a another twist on it too. Whenever Pinocchio told the truth, his nose would shrink down. So yeah, so I did think that that was kind of interesting that they decided to like make it so that if Pinocchio like actually corrects his wrongs, that like like the stuff would be undone. So yeah, so I did actually think that that was kind of like an interesting thing to do. Yeah. And then yeah, then of course there's the scene in Pleasure Island when like of course Pinocchio is there with like all the misbehaving boys and they are turned into donkeys. Yeah, yeah, and the donkey transformations in this film like they are pretty cheap. Like we don't even really actually see the boys transforming into donkeys. We just see it through shadows. Yeah, so yeah, the donkey transformations are like pretty cheap. Yeah, and also like of course there's like when uh the scene where like coachman and it is actually like testing like all the transformed donkeys, seeing whether they can talk or not. Yeah, and it shows that like the goons are just like these like yeah, they're like just these like big things of like smoke or something. So they're like fog like. Yeah, so just why are you doing that? Like it's live action and you're like going down that route of making the henchmen just like all like fog. Like I mean it would work for like animated like in the original film like the henchmen we really don't really actually get a clear look of, like they're just kind of like dark. Yeah, but here like they're actually like just like foggy sorts of demons. Like seriously, why are you doing that in live action? The least you could do is really just at least make it believable and just have them be just like other normal people. So yeah, so I just found that to be like pretty stupid. Yeah. And of course there's also like Pinocchio does like get the donkey ears and the donkey tail. Yeah. Then it shows at one point then like when the the ballerina and her puppet come back and talk to Pinocchio again, asking Pinocchio to join them on their new show without Stromboli. Pinocchio like really just turns it down, and and due to like that being the right choice, it causes the donkey ears and the tail to disappear. So yeah, so this kind of does go along with what I was talking about with the nose, how um, Pinocchio, well, like when he does actually correct his mistakes, like the bad stuff that happens to him will be undone. Yeah. So yeah. So I really don't know like what people really are gonna feel about that. I'm sure there are people that won't like it, but me personally, I did think that that was kind of like a nice twist on it to at least give it like some stuff that is at least different from the animated film. Yeah. Yeah. And I guess the last thing I'll talk about is the ending for the film. Like I said, like there is the this film does include like the Monstro chase. Yeah, in this film they kind of like redesign Monstro rather than him just being like a giant whale like he was in the original. Here they actually make him a sea monster. Yeah, yeah, and and the scene when like he's chasing after Pinocchio and Geppetto on the boat. Like I feel that it is kind of over the top with like Pinocchio like shows that he has this talent of like moving his feet really fast, kind of like a to give the boat like an engine to speed it up. Yeah, yeah, but yeah, then in the climax when like Pinocchio and Geppetto crash when they escape Monstro, like they do it differently in this film. Rather than it being Pinocchio as the one who seemingly dies in the crash, in this version they have it be Geppetto as the one who seemingly dies. Yeah, yeah, yeah. And then then this scene actually did like kind of like hit me a little. Like as I was watching this scene, like just the emotion out of it, it really did kind of seem like it really just hit me hard, and it really honestly did get me a little teary eyed, especially like as Pinocchio was really like just wanting Geppetto to wake up. He was like getting tearful. Yeah. Then there was like a point when Pinocchio actually hummed and sang "When You Wish Upon a Star," and gosh, I mean, just the emotion in his voice, just something about it actually did get me, admittedly, a little teary eyed. Yeah. So, yeah, at least like this film like did at least like deliver an emotional scene like that. Yeah. But then Pinocchio then like shed a tear and it landed on Geppetto, and that ended up reviving him. Yeah. So then Pinocchio and Geppetto then reunited. I did, and Geppetto just like said to Pinocchio that despite he's a puppet, he's proven himself to be a real boy at heart for all that he's done. Yeah, and the film really just ends like it doesn't end like the original with Jiminy Cricket just like going outside and being declared like an official conscience. Yeah, I guess I should probably also mention that in the film, like rather than actually being appointed like a true conscience for Pinocchio, Jiminy Cricket just decides to be a temporary conscience. Then like it shows like as a Pinocchio, in the scene when he actually is transformed into a real boy, it's done differently. Rather than the blue fairy really just like magically transforming him into a real boy, here it shows like as Pinocchio and Geppetto just walk off toward home, it shows that like the Pinocchio's wooden limbs like slowly become actual human flesh. Yeah, so I did think that was like once again like an interesting way of redoing that scene. Yeah, and then it just like ended with like a little narration for Geppetto for from Jiminy Cricket, just saying how Pinocchio did prove himself unselfish, brave and wise and all that. Then he just like said that thing that really matters being that he's real at heart. Yeah. So and something else I guess I want to mention also was that the film kind of did have like some interesting Easter eggs because in Geppetto's toy shop it shows that he has cuckoo clocks, and when they go off it does show that like a lot of the cuckoo clocks have like various Disney characters. Like one does have a Woody and Bullseye, and there's one that has Donald Duck, there's one with Roger Rabbit, there's a Sleeping Beauty one with Maleficent, there's a Snow White one, and some others. So I did think that those were at least some interesting Disney Easter eggs to put in the film as well. Yeah, so like I said, I did find this film to be okay. Like I said, it really doesn't have the charm that the original did have, and it's not nearly as timeless as the original. Yeah, but I mean, I did think that it was at least okay. Like I did like some of the changes that it made. Some of them worked, whilst others did not. Yeah, and there were some mistakes, such as like the just the blue fairy being in one scene and stuff. So I can understand like why people really won't like the film because it does have its issues, and it really just comes down to the same thing that a lot of these Disney live action have is just that it really just was not necessary to really make. So just all these live action remakes really just are just like come across as just like cash grabs. They really are just like money grubbers. So I really feel that Disney really has to stop these already. Like seriously, they're being made to milk money. Like seriously, Disney, what happened to your originality? Stop remaking all of your animated films in live action. Like branch out like you used to. Yeah, but of course, Disney's not really going to listen to that. Yeah, but I don't want to get off topic. I really don't want to go on a rant about these, but I'll, I'll just like say that the film is at least okay. Like I didn't hate it. It did at least like have like I guess like enough differences from the original film to at least make it like stand out and to at least like give it like a not really necessary to remake, but at least it wasn't like a total like a shot for shot, scene for scene remake of the animated film. So yeah, so it does at least have some differences to at least like give it some distinction to it. Yeah. So would I honestly recommend it? Well, I don't know. I can't really actually guarantee that you actually are gonna like this film. All I can really say is that if you can really put up with like the changes that this film really does have and if you are at least like lenient towards it, like if you are at least willing to really uh, give it a chance and to not just dismiss it because it's another live action remake, I think there are like some things in the film that you will at least like you will at least enjoy about it, and there will at least be at least some things to at least like give it some distinction from the animated film. So I guess it is at least worth watching at least once. So all I can say is just check it out and just decide for yourself. But I will say that this is admittedly not going to be a film that I will be like coming back to. Like I really don't think I really am going to watch this film that much. I really don't know if I really will actually ever watch it again, but I do think that it was at least worth watching once. So yeah. So I guess that is really my verdict on it. Yeah. All right. So yeah. So I guess that's all I can really say about it. All right. So yeah. So those are my thoughts on the new Pinocchio movie. So I hope you guys did enjoy this video. I know I probably really didn't talk about like absolutely everything about the film, but yeah, I wanted to just like give a but yeah, I wasn't really like planning to really like go through absolutely every little detail about the movie. I just really wanted to talk about the differences and just what I liked and what I didn't like about it. So yeah, but I hope you guys did enjoy what I had to say about it. All right. So yeah, so I guess that does it for this video. So I hope you guys did enjoy. So thanks for watching, and I'll see you guys later.